What's up, gremlins? Welcome to
Grim got tired of editing.
Enjoy My Dumb Face. Anyone who understands a thing about how language works, or just has basic observation skills, you know that words don't just have literal definitions, they also have connotations. For example, take the words determined and stubborn. Both words mean essentially the same thing, having made a firm decision and being resolved not to change it, or refusing to give up on a goal. However, we tend to pick one of the terms based on how we want to portray the person. If you're determined, you're persevering through hardships and obstacles to reach your goal. If you're stubborn, you're being bullheaded and not listening to reason. Now, I don't tend to see people arguing the definitions of those words, but there are quite a few terms that people often get hung up on. For example, social justice warrior. So what the freaking frick is a social justice warrior? An SJW, if you will. Is this an SJW? Is this an SJW? Is this a sugar glider? Oh. Oh god. That is adorable. See, I always thought that the term SJW was reserved for people that say shit like this.
All white people are racist, all men are misogynistic, all cisgender people are transphobic.
Which is true based on more academic definitions, but you don't just say that point blank to the general public. Maybe we're supposed to use SJW for those people online who pretend to be activists, but really they just complain about fan art all the time? Maybe for the people that hate activists like Vosh and ContraPoints because they actually meet their opponent at their level so they can have a real conversation, and these little Twitter babies are angry that spewing jargon that takes tons of research just to comprehend doesn't work as well as talking like a normal person? Well, if you ask me, the term SJW is pretty fitting for these types of people. However, there is one little problem I run into. The term social justice warrior has become a lot like the term Mary Sue, in that any semblance of a helpful or informative meaning has been diluted, and both terms nowadays are just used as shorthand for some type of boogeyman. And there's a very tangible reason why this is important to recognize. See, language plays a big part not only in how we express ourselves, but in interacting with communities. Every community has at least a few terms they use, and new people will begin to use them too for the same reasons the rest of the community does, because it makes communication and unity with that community much easier. And because of this, you can tell a lot about a person by the language they use. I know some of you are special, free-thinking individuals who use words only for their true meaning, but in reality, words are meant to communicate, so if you say something and everyone watching you assumes it means one thing, then it means that thing to your audience, and that is the impact your words are going to have, even if you didn't mean it that way. Let me give you an example. For a few days, I played around with the phrase, abusers are people too, which I promise is not what it sounds like. See, I'm someone who's easy to take advantage of due to my empathy and my tendency to guilt myself out of cutting off toxic people, and for some reason I found it comforting to remind myself that abusive people are normal people with feelings and struggles and mental illness like me. Because whenever I tried to give them chances or give them the benefit of the doubt and put up with their bullshit because I felt like the bad guy for leaving, I would catch myself putting their humanity above mine. So by telling myself abusers are people too, I was essentially putting myself back on their level so I could allow myself to break away from them, knowing that it isn't fair for one human to hold themselves hostage for another like that. Because if I do that, then who's going to take care of me? That's my job. It was a mantra I considered coining to help other people whose empathy stops them from cutting off shitty people in their lives. But, what the fuck do you think most people are going to use that phrase for? I would never say abusers are people too, without a preemptive explanation for what I mean by it. And because of that, I recognize that the people using that phrase are going to be the abusers themselves trying to guilt people into giving them more chances, and me coining that phrase will ultimately do more harm than good. So in that case, it doesn't really matter what I intend it to mean. The majority of people using it will either be abusers or people willing to excuse abusers if they give them a sob story. And it doesn't matter how many people go, wait, I didn't mean it like that, and explain the intended meaning, because malicious people don't care what you meant, and bystanders won't be spared from their intentional misuse of the phrase. I mean, think about it. Were you getting ready to cancel me as soon as you heard me say that phrase? I mean, good on you if you were, but that strengthens my point, doesn't it? That's what it means to most people. Now, with that in mind, what do you think of when you hear the term feminism? What do you think of when you hear the word heteronormativity? What about misogyny? What about problematic? What about gender, or genderqueer, or pronouns? If your response was kinda negative, or you felt the need to aggressively distinguish yourself from the words with, I agree with the true concept of this thing, but I'm not like those types of people, then I'm sorry to say, but someone's done you dirty, because those defensive reactions only arise when you have a warped idea of what those terms refer to and what actually engaging with them entails. And you don't want to have to explain to people what you really meant every single time you use a word, don't you? That kind of hampers the communication aspect in the first place, not to mention how tedious and ineffective it would be. But most of all, the reason I refuse to use the term social justice warrior or SJW unironically, even when I see someone who very much meets the definition that I use, is because the anti-SJW or skeptic community has appropriated that term in a way that lumps these wildly over-emotional, counterproductive people in with the concept of social justice itself. And let me clarify, I've never seen an anti-SJW literally state that they have any goal of delegitimizing the entire spectrum of left-leaning ideas.
The only other reason that you should ever have a conversation or be friends with anyone on the left is, and not even be friends, is if you are in public in front of a large audience, and then your goal is to humiliate them as badly as possible.
But unfortunately, that is the exact effect they have with the way they engage with these SJWs. Even if you're someone who clarifies on occasion that not all social justice is inherently dumb and unnecessary, having an entire body of work largely dedicated to shitting on the left and only the left, while never adding to the side of social justice that is progressive, very much has the effect of making the entire left look like a joke. Feminists, LGBT+ activists, people who criticize video games and other media in a reasonable manner, all of them get thrown under the same bus as these irritating brats who try to cancel people just for being a little edgy or making a mistake. And that only contributes to the exact same problem that these SJWs cause. You can find many testimonies from people who used to believe that basically anyone who talks about social justice is a joke and too sensitive, which leads them to dismiss even reasonable arguments from left-leaning people and to see descriptive words such as heteronormative as buzzwords that immediately discredit the person using it. I used to be one of those people, and it was all because my only exposure to the left was through all these negative videos about the worst people they had to offer, which led me to believe that they were all crazy. Hell, heteronormative, for example, is actually a very basic term. It refers to the presupposition that being straight is the default and everything else is not normal. That's it. When someone calls something heteronormative, they're saying that it bolsters or contributes to that belief. Not everyone who makes those types of accusations is correct, but it's foolish to pretend that it isn't just another descriptive word. But you may be wondering, if the stuff I'm saying is actually true, then why are SJWs regarded so negatively? How did it happen? Well, a lot of people on the left do act crazy, and they can even be nasty, malicious liars. But there are more specific words for these people. Abuser sometimes fits. But for this specific brand of abuse and harassment, we, as in myself and other leftists, tend to call them woke scolds or wokelets. Watch out for the former term, as it is also used synonymously with SJW by bigots, but with context you should be fine. It means what it sounds like, and is applied to people whose attempts at activism are harmful to fellow marginalized people and counterproductive to the movements they fight for. These people are often dogmatic and demanding, and some of them are purely selfish. These are the people you hear about who get really angry when someone accidentally misgenders them. These are the people who harass and bully artists for drawing rose quartz a little too skinny or Nessa a shade too light. These are the people who get pissy at innocent newcomers just for asking a question and tell them you're not entitled to my emotional labor after they started the debate just to shit on someone they perceive as less woke than them. These are fake activists, and they should be regarded as such. They should not be regarded as representative of the ideas they try and fail to advocate for. In conclusion, SJW is a buzzword used by reactionaries and bigots to dismiss the concerns of marginalized people by convincing the general public that fighting for social issues is stupid and unneeded and cringy. But it is all a lie. So, funny thing actually, there is one person I know of who is an exception to what I just talked about, and that is a YouTuber named Hunter Avalone, who makes pretty awesome content that appears to cater to bigots, but turns out to be fairly progressive even when he's criticizing the left, which he does do. You'll find pretty generic anti-SJW titles like, "The Feminists Are At It Again," or "Liberals Ruin Everything," but if you give him a chance, I think you'll find him a closer ally to progress than you think. I should note that the reason his content is like this is because he is an ex-reactionary, so his older stuff might still be cringy. But he's got some sass in his ass and he's ready to make the world a better place. I would like to thank my singular $15 patron, who I appreciate very much, Kano Kintoni. Thank you so much. You've actually, paid for a lot lately because I logged into my Patreon and found out that I had like $80 from all your donations, and that makes me really happy. I got to buy some games and I got to donate to BLM, and I'm just, thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you all for watching.
See you all in the next video. Bye bye. Oh god, it's terrible.
Why does my leg hurt? Dun-na-na, dun-na-na, dun-na-dun-dun-dun-dun. Am I logged in? No, I'm not. Damn it.